And there's some fairly heavy pieces in tonight's show, and no doubt we'll have some who say, "Ooh, that's all a bit negative." Well, actually, it's not. It's positive. Why do I say that? Because all these previous hidden programs were only known to us after the event when it was too late. That's why it's a positive, because we're getting an opportunity to hear about these hidden programs and the hidden meanings and the hidden codes ahead of time, so we can all be positive and take the necessary steps to stop it. Not like we've done in the past, where we've ignored everything and gone, holy shit, I didn't realise that was it. That's what this show gives you. It gives you an insight. It gives you a future thinking. Is it positive? Overall, not particularly. But this world is not positive either. That's the problem. There's lots of nastiness and not nice people dictating how this world runs. And it's up to the good people to change it. And only we can do that. So if you see it as a negative, fine. But then I'm asking, what are you doing as a positive to stop it? Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to, what each and every one of us does. Now, the benefits of shadow and inner work has come more sharply into view. None more so in the past week or so for myself personally. And these are often harsh and brutal lessons to learn, and quite painful in so many ways. And that makes many people choose to neglect it. And we've all done that throughout our lives. And some people come into your life for that very reason, to trigger your emotional responses. And that can have varying emotions and reactions in return. Now, for many, what people do is project at the messenger. And we've all witnessed that to a degree. And quite often I, as the show host of a show that contains all of the topics that could potentially trigger us, it often leaves this host resembling being the target end of a shooting gallery, with shots coming at me from all angles. But these are all lessons for us all to learn, myself included. And it's how you react to these situations that determines how far the lesson is learned. Angry projection is a denial of the circumstances, denial of the latent issues, and a denial of your own responsibility of what made you react that way to begin with. Well, people can mask it all they like in projections at others, but those issues will never go away with that method. Never. No matter how hard you project or deny the causal issue. And often in these cases, the original trigger or action is overlooked in a plethora of words and distractions. In comes diversion from the facts, and or selective memory syndrome is the most common aspect. And is all a ploy and a defensive mechanism, because the person or persons have not addressed their own inner core issues. Ending a relationship, not falling out as a member of a group, love, work or friendship partnerships, or family-based relationships all failing due to those triggers. will never make the problem go away. I know that from my own experience of that with my former partner. You cannot keep neglecting the issues, the core issue. Yes, you can blame everybody else. It doesn't solve the problem. All that happens is it festers. And what happens next is someone else will come along and trigger the same pattern or happenstance in your life. History always repeats until you address the problem. And like I mentioned in the last show of how females go from one abusive relationship into another, that's not just bad luck. It is an issue not addressed from the previous lesson or relationship. It keeps repeating because the victim, although in some cases it's not all as one-sided as it seems, there are always two sides to the story, but it keeps repeating as the wounds of the past have not been addressed. Not because you've just got bad luck of meeting somebody else who's abusive and violent. No, you didn't address the previous issue. And I mentioned in a show a few years back that I've struggled to understand the lesson of why many people I have helped, supported or cared for all turn on you in a blink of an eye. And suddenly you are the world's worst person or some other nasty labels. And then one member said to me one day, "Thomas, that's not your lesson to learn, it's theirs." And that made so much sense. Now the younger me would have blamed myself. Maybe I didn't care or support enough, and all the other self-doubts we all have would have surfaced. But now I see it for what it is. Their own failure and their own lack of respect. And their failure to see or recognise the few people who do actually help people, who do actually care, against the mass volumes who don't. You know, I've had more than a few kicks in the teeth in the past few months of betrayals and attacks. And the tendency is for one to be nasty back and or cynical of the nature and behaviour of humanity. A broad swiping of the brush, so to speak. But that would not go along with the message, principles and vibe that our show has laid out 4 years ago this month. In fact, it's 4 years tomorrow. Our message has been consistent. Our development of the group in terms of understanding the bigger picture. The way you all embraced the painful unlearning process and jump forward with a new learning has been a source of pride to me. Many have embraced the warnings of the inner and shadow work, the two-world theory, the grasp of the 85-15% principle, the 2020 vision, and all will start to see. Of how it was too late for the masses to wake up, how the information, it was said, would become overloaded, and where the factions fit into the world stage and also the alt media, and the also encompassing dropping of the masks I first warned about 4 to 5 years ago. All of those were barely believable or unimaginable a few years ago, and yet it all came to pass. Many of you embraced it all and gained a better and more of your own understanding by doing the research this show host requested of you many times. I'm not here to be followed, a guru, a saviour, or any of those things. Just someone who got you to think and act for yourself and take more responsibility in life. Many feel this group is defined by the trust. It's not, and Kim will agree. I was never about the money, which is why I don't advertise. I've never monetized my YouTube or Spreaker channels, or created my own Patreon either. And the sadness for me is that Patreon has gone on way longer than I personally would have liked. But that is due to the trust funds continuing to be blocked and is outside of my control. But I came up with a simple plan of all Americans putting in $1 a week or more, so we can then solve our own problems. We would not have a food shortage then. We wouldn't be short of medical supplies, etc. And not wait for anybody's help. Because waiting for anyone has hardly ever come to fruition or been in our best interests. A week last Monday there was an incident that leaves a very nasty taste in the mouth. Oh, the irony, it was the exact same date 4 years ago, like a loop programme, that Neil Keenan read out an Asian Black Dragon Cabal script, and I gave my reaction to that treachery, which 3 days later got me shunted out of Cosmic Voice. Despite all the help and the efforts of not only me, but my team of admins had done, 2 of which are still the admins of THI, James and Holly. It was unpleasant on both dates, but out of the ashes of the previous transgressions led to a new path that launched THI. I called it that name as a message and something for us all to inspire to and aspire to. A planet in truth, in honour, and more importantly, integrity, which way too few exhibit, is something we all must work for and towards, including me. The message on our 4-year anniversary is what it's always been from day one. I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And also to think and act different. They are the embodiment of our show and what THI stands for. The show's not here to be positive or negative. It's here to provide you as near as the truth as possible and encourage us all to develop. Now, people have asked me many times why I do this. And some events recently made me question as to why also. With so many acting in poor behaviours and actions. But I do what I've done since I was a child. Protect those and fight for those who are injusticed. And we're all injustice, regardless of colour, creed, nationality, or fake religion. Our system of life is broken. Nobody can doubt that anymore. I could see that as a small child, riddled with lies and liars, a planet run by thieves and psychopaths, vast volumes of people riddled with violence, greed, poverty, dis-ease and a totally dysfunctional planet. I saw all that at a young age. And I gained knowledge from many, many different and differing sources through vast amounts of time of researching as I got older. And then ended up playing a semi-lead role in exposing it all. How great a role will be decided by others over time, and not for me to say. But the greatest role of THI is we helped people overcome so many things that had plagued them throughout their life. From the healings to the entity removals to the shielding. We have had people walking away from the religious construct, people quitting social drugs, people quitting long and short-term pharmaceutical drugs, people quitting alcohol, people quitting cults and witchcraft, people changing their habits and lifestyles, people learning again to care for each other, people meeting each other from all over the world and putting aside so-called cultural-based prejudices and becoming friends. It has helped people gain a sense of pride, purpose and a role in life. It has opened some of your throat chakras, taken many out of the astral harvesting system, enlightened many and got many of you to take personal responsibility again. And that will always fill me with great joy. And you know what? Nobody can or will take that away from me. I've had the critics, the doubters, and the miscreants as well. And some accuse me of this, that and the other, which over time bears no relevance to the reality of who or what I stand for. And I've carried on to the best of my abilities to do what is right for you all. And if that's not good enough for some, then can I say at least I tried? And again, if that's not good enough for some either, then I'm going to offer you a mirror for your own reflection and question, are you a descendant of Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz?